Picking a deductible on a building like this, or even your primary home, can be big. How much are you willing to come out of pocket before the insurance company picks up theirs? How much risk are you willing to take in order to defer those savings? And today I want to talk about that, something that we have recently discovered between the National Flood Insurance Program and something that we have discovered with some private companies when it comes to this deductible. So let's get it started on that real quick. Remember, don't forget to share, subscribe, and like the channel below. When picking an insurance deductible, remember, this is the money that you're going to come out of pocket. So you want to pick something that you feel comfortable with. And I always tell people, look, if you don't have it in the bank, don't pick it as a deductible. So let's talk about the building first. Like you can see right here behind me. Remember, when we're talking about a building deductible, we're talking about anything that's physically attached to the building that's damaged that you want the insurance company to pay for. Where do you feel comfortable with deductibles? $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 here. That's totally up to you. Really, it matters what you have in the bank there. The next thing you want to take a look, hey, what's going to be my real savings here? On average, if you go from $1,000 to $5,000 to $10,000, you're going to save 2.5% with the National Flood Insurance Program. Not very much. For every $100, you're going to save $2.5. So let's just say $1,000. You're going to save about $25. Not very much, is it? However, on private companies that we have seen and all the data that we've done and the customers we've helped across the country is, this can be closer to 20%. So this means for every $1,000 in premium, you may save roughly $200. So you want to think about that. So if you've got a $2,000 or a $3,000 premium, you could end up saving $600 on a deductible. But how much of that deductible are you willing to take on? Now, the same thing with the contents. Remember, when picking contents coverage, that can make up about 20 to 30% of your rate here. And so when looking at this deductible too, remember, you're going to have a building coverage deductible. You're going to have a contents deductible. If you've got additional living expenses, loss of use, remember, if your place floods and you need a temporary place to live, this is additional living expense. Something the National Flood Insurance Program doesn't offer. You're going to have another deductible here. So think about this on flood. You could have 3 different deductibles here. So you want to pick something you feel comfortable with. But you also want to pick something financially doesn't make sense to go with a higher risk if I'm not really saving any money. With the National Flood Insurance Program, most of the time it does not. However, with some private companies, we are seeing that it does make sense because you're saving about 20%. So let's just say that you do save $200 or $300 a year. Over a 10-year period, you could save $2,000. Going from $1,000 to a $5,000 deductible, still really haven't made it up. So it's just a matter of really how much you're willing to save here. But a good thing to think about is, on average, with most private companies, you could save anywhere from 15 to 25% on the deductible. With the National Flood Insurance Program, you're going to save on average about 2.5%. So I want you to remember that when picking your deductible for your flood insurance policy, when you're finalizing that policy, and knowing that these deductibles work a little bit different than your home insurance, because with home insurance, typically you're going to have just one deductible. Whether you have personal property claim or a building claim, it's still one deductible. And that's how flood is different, especially on deductibles. So you want to think about that. I'm Chris with the Flood Insurance Crew. I want to say thank you for watching today's video on picking the right flood insurance deductible for your flood insurance policy.